Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to SilverFest. Chris Marcus of Arcadia Economics, your humble host here, and now joined by two of the legends of the industry to talk about the physical silver market, premium, supply chain, all that good stuff. And Andy Schectman of Miles Franklin and Patrick Vierra of Silver Bullion TV. I'm taking my notes from Patrick over there. He's the guy who started the whole Silver Talk radio thing. And gentlemen, how are you both doing today?
Doing fine, Chris.
Doing
Thanks
well.
for having us on.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, I appreciate that. And I was thinking we could dig in. I'll give you each a few minutes to share some thoughts, premiums, physical market, silver availability, especially the questions that you get asked by customers day after day. I'm sure people here are interested to hear that. And then maybe we'll take some questions. So, Patrick, why don't you start for us and share and let folks know you're out in Singapore, and it's a nice perspective from across the globe and what you're seeing.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on, Chris. I am over in Singapore with Silver Bullion over in Singapore, and what we're seeing is gold is still fairly okay to go ahead and get. The supply of gold is still okay. Silver, platinum, it's a different story. Silver is a bit harder to get. Platinum is much harder to get. So we see these things happening, and what's happening also is our customer base. We're seeing a lot of new customers coming in, so that's also putting some strain on the supply. And these new customers, they're spending money, and what I mean by that is, a lot of times you have people that are waiting to buy the dip, but these customers come in and they're just buying it up. They don't necessarily look for dips. They're just buying it up, and they understand that the supply is somewhat tightening. And some of that is due to air shipments. They're less frequent, not as frequent as before by a long shot. And so a lot of things have to come by ship. And my understanding is by ship, ocean ship, they do have to stop every now and then in different ports, and then they'll change crews, and this is because of the bug, and then they'll continue on. So that further delays getting the metal. But it is there. It is available. It's just that it does take longer to get now. So we're really seeing some delays. The metal is there available, but there are more delays.
And Andy, what are you seeing over there?
The first half of the year, Chris, was dominated by difficulty getting product. And I made a promise to myself heading into the summer that I would learn from that. And quite frankly, I think we did a good job through the beginnings of COVID, March, April, May. But I learned from that, and we've gone deep into our line of credit to secure anything that isn't nailed down. And quite frankly, as I've been saying, I think we're in the eye of the hurricane. You're able to find some product. Things have calmed down a bit, but I think we're one event away from that being a distant memory. Supply and lack of it will define this market before it's all said and done. It's not easy to get. You have to work. It's a full-time job to continue to get supply, and it's a very fragile supply chain. Let's not forget that the beginning of the year saw 65% of all the silver mines across the globe shut down, and the refiners in Europe were shut down, as they are all in Switzerland and they border Italy. And the mints are shut down, or were shut down, or are right now drastically cutting back on supply as they social distance. The U.S. Mint just said for the next 18 months they're going to have to ration supply, either do just gold or just silver. They can't do both at once. They'll pick and choose in an effort to place and do a deep clean. Bottom line is it's available right now, but I think it's a tenuous, fragile supply chain, and it one event and you'll find nothing. So I think it's certainly a fluid environment, one that I think will define the market going forward, Chris.
Yeah, and since we're fortunate to have silver dealers from around the globe at this current moment, Maybe someone can explain this to me, but I took the tour of the Denver Mint last year, and aside from the people on the tour, everything was done by machines. So, Andy, you and I have talked about this before. Patrick, maybe you can comment, but when they're saying they can't make the silver or gold because of COVID, I'm like, what do the machines have to social distance now as well? Andy, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I believe when we talked about it, you said, yeah, that does seem kind of unusual. Patrick, any thoughts on that?
I did talk to Bron Sucheki. He's over in Australia with ABC Bullion, and I think he did mention there's more automation, definitely as far as production. But he mentioned still, even with the automation, it can't keep up with the demand.
Yeah. Well, and also perhaps you could touch on the Perth Mint. We've heard a variety of things. Actually, I have a lot of people who watch in Australia. I'm assuming that's probably the case for you as well, Patrick. And I heard a variety of different things about the Perth Mint, whether there's availability. There was some story about JP Morgan tried to get metal, or anything that you can comment, because I think people are interested, but it's not easy to get information. I know you guys deal with the Perth Mint.
Yeah, I mean, for us, some people, the JP Morgan thing, I'm not too, I haven't really looked into that, but guys on the ground who actually they have some gold stored with Perth Mint, some silver stored with Perth Mint. They do have trouble. They do tell me they do have trouble trying to get it out of the Perth Mint and to store it with us over in Singapore. So I don't know why there is trouble, but it seems to come from, I think they have these certificates, and then you convert these certificates into gold. And then when people try to do that, there seems to be a little bit of it's not as easy as you would think it would be. That's mostly what I hear.
What I hear on that, Patrick, is that, so I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've met a lot of people who own Perth Mint certificates. I've met 2 out of the thousands who physically own it in an allocated account. And it's because their storage rate for allocated accounts is very high. It's free for unallocated. And I've never been a big fan of anything that's free in the storage realm. That doesn't resonate with me. To me, you get what you pay for, right? And or in this case, what you don't pay for. But when you look at the delivery delays that they have as is, and I've been hearing 6, 8 weeks, and I think you can echo that. When you take possession from a Perth Mint certificate, the first thing you need to do is to fabricate. So you move it to an allocated or account, you have to first fabricate it. So in other words, what you have is a right to claim with the Perth certificate. It's not allocated. There's no box with Chris Marcus's or Patrick Vierra's name on it. It's just you're a spot on a ledger. You have to then fabricate it. Now you're going to the back of the line with everyone else. And so you're looking at the same 6 to 8 weeks to fabricate before they can turn around and send it to you. So that's the real issue. If you're going to store metal somewhere, it's really important, in my opinion. And I'm not speaking negatively about the Perth Mint whatsoever. Quite frankly, I sell their product and think they've been great. But if you're going to store metal, you got to do it in an allocated fashion so that you don't have those kind of issues when you want to take possession of it.
Yeah, completely agree. So it's not where they couldn't get the metal. It's like you said, it was just a while before they got their metal.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And fellas, I'm going to take some questions here, which is, I guess, the whole point. Perhaps we can aim to do this a little bit rapid fire. And Andy, if anyone wants to follow up with you for further discussion, you have your Miles Franklin booth, and people can do that there. And Patrick, we'll also set up, if you'd like to take some questions in the Arcadia Lounge at some point today. We can set that up as well. So with that said, we'll try and keep answers a little bit on the shorter side so we can get to as many as possible. And I'll stop talking now after I read Jordan Franco's question. Or actually, that was a different one. We'll get to his question too. But someone asked if you could talk about what is the chain from when silver comes from the mine, like where does it go through the different steps until it ends up in the coin shop? And if anyone in particular wants to take that one.
Well, I think it has to, first it comes from the mine, and then it has to go to a refinery where it has to be, refined from doré bar into a pure form. And from there it has to, typically there's a bullion bank intermediary in between. And then from there it goes to the mints where it's made into coins, and from there to distributors, and the distributors to the end user. So there is definitely a chain. One of the interesting things about that is the trade wind product from Sprott. That's exactly what they have tried to do with the distributed ledger, is to disintermediate all of the steps in between, to take it right from the mine to the end user by taking that raw bar, putting it on the ledger with the Royal Canadian Mint, even in its raw form, and then disintermediating all the steps in between. And so you can purchase gold and silver using a distributed ledger even before it's refined and a finished product. But the bottom line is, Chris, there are a lot of steps along the way, and from the mine to the end user is
Patrick, anything you'd like to touch on there?
No, it sounds about right. Absolutely right.
All right, then Alexander Bondar says, why do banks and governments suppress silver so much and treat it like it's garbage, even though it's the second most important commodity after oil in terms of uses? Patrick, what do you think about that?
Why they suppress silver price? Because they can, for one thing. But I think it's because, like gold, whenever you see gold price starts to rise, it is an indicator that the economy is not doing so well, and not everybody can afford gold, so they'll move into silver, and then silver price will also move up too, and that's where so-called average Joe starts to catch on. Hey, things aren't really what people are saying they are being right now. So I think for that reason they try to hold down, if they can, hold down gold and hold down silver, because it's a symptom of the sickness right now of our monetary system.
Yeah, well, Jerome Powell's been sneezing and trying to get everybody else to catch his cold. I'm more concerned about Jerome Powell than COVID myself, while he thinks he's saving us from the low sorry, fellas. I thought there was some low inflation coming from that side of the room. It was very scary, but fortunately, Jerome's got us covered on that one. Patrick, another question for you over in Singapore. I think you've told me this before, but does Jim Rogers come and buy his silver from you?
He's popped by the shop a few times. And he's one of those times it was even pre-order, in a sense, where he bought a few coins and we had to wait for that shipment to come in. And so I was the guy who was lucky enough to go and take it over to his house. And he has a very nice house. But he does
You're
come
Jim Rogers, silver delivery man?
Yeah, hey, I don't mind. That was a good gig.
I bring Jim Rogers his silver. We got to get you a T-shirt for that. It's actually funny. I met him a couple times when he would come to the New York Stock Exchange to do his CNBC interviews. And it was funny. I'd been reading one of his books, so I went over and said hello. He pulls into his pocket, pulls out an ounce of silver, and he just is like, "This is what you want." Fortunately, that was right after I just purchased my 1,000-ounce block, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm right there with you, Jim." So, anyway, let's continue on with some questions here. Enough of my banter. The party responsible to suppress silver price lives by the printed currency and will fight all the competition. Do you agree, Andy Schectman?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a term in economics called Gibson's paradox. It's the inverse relationship between real interest rates and gold. And when I say gold, I mean silver too. They're connected at the hip. They have a 90% correlation in movement. Or wealth in the dollar and dollar-based assets. When gold and silver are running, that's the canary in the mine shaft. They have to squash the canary because it screams that the dollar sucks and is in trouble. And the big money, who is in an effort to accumulate it, to reposition themselves, they need time. And the last thing that they want in this environment is to be crowded out of their trade by letting it run too high. If it goes too low, it creates a tension. If it goes too high, it creates a tension. If they keep it in a volatile bandwidth within a certain level, it's too volatile and it's too boring for too many people. It allows them to continue to acquire, and then it keeps ratcheting up. So that manipulation is your friend. Buy on the dips, don't chase the rallies. That's the way you'll win in this environment. Well,
I appreciate that. And we have an official Silver Kennedy $50 winning question from Bugsy Malone. Bugsy, I've just written you down on my Kennedy half. We're going to have one coming your way, because perhaps the most important comment I've heard yet at SilverFest is, Patrick, why no Hawaiian shirt?
I had a feeling that was going to come up.
You got to answer the fans. I'm grilling you now. I mean,
yeah,
when you're a celebrity of the silver industry like yourself, you know, these are the kind of things that you got to be held accountable for. So,
yeah, I know that, but you know, that reminds me of when we had on I don't know, I can't remember his name now, but he's also located in Hawaii, and I didn't wear my Hawaiian shirt, and he did. And so I had to promise him, if we get you on again, I'll be sure to wear one. So, Chris, I will wear one next time. I have no excuse. I'm ashamed of myself.
You promise that when I organize the Silver Cruise, wherever that will be, you'll have a Hawaiian shirt for the Silver Cruise. That way, when you're sitting next to the pool, you know, you can have your Hawaiian shirt on. Gregory Wen, sorry, I'm learning how to pronounce that. Greg has a question for Silver Bullion. I'm friends with a GP at Temasak. When do sovereign wealth funds buy silver?
When do sovereign
wealth funds buy silver?
Oh, I think you're beginning to see it happening. I mean, little by little. I wouldn't call what Warren Buffett did a sovereign wealth fund, and I wouldn't call what the Ohio Police and Fire pension, 16 billion, 5% into metals, a sovereign wealth fund. But what I would call it is a toe in the water. Stanley Druckenmiller, you got big money who is noticing for the very first time. That's the first step. But look also, Chris, remember what's happening on COMEX. If you look at who's pulling the metal off of COMEX, it's titled the other category. Well, that's sovereign wealth funds. That's family offices. That's high net worth individuals. So they are doing it. They're doing it in a clandestine manner. These people have big money. They have big influence, and they don't want anyone to know what the hell they're doing. So they pull it out the back door on the COMEX. And think about that. When you're pulling off contracts off the COMEX market, that is, each contract is 5 1,000-ounce silver bars. Chris tried to carry one home from Manhattan to Hoboken, New Jersey on the subway. And, you know, he knows how heavy those suckers are. It's 70 pounds of dead weight. So you pull 5 off, it's 350 pounds. And these guys are pulling off dozens or hundreds or thousands of contracts. That's semi-trailers full of silver. It's a good problem to have. Where do you put it all? They'd rather take it off the exchange and figure out where to put it than leave it in a rigged casino. So I think you are beginning to see it.
Patrick?
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. I think I'm not sure if they did purchase. I'm not sure if it would be made known or if it would be clandestine, just as Andy said, because my feeling is, if you had such a big entity like that move into the gold and silver market and buy, they're not going to nibble at it. They're really going to take a huge chunk at it, and then you'd probably have the whole of Singapore following in and eating everything up as much as they could.
I hear you. And we have a question from the great Stuart Engler, author of the book Rigged, about the manipulation in the precious metals. What do the guests think about the so-called coin shortage?
To me, it is the kind of the opening shot across the bow for a cashless society. They're trying to get us all used to what it's like with no cash. You know, most people don't have cash as it is. Nancy Pelosi said they want a digital currency because COVID can live on paper currency. There's no velocity of money right now. Maybe the banks aren't restocking the the shop owners, I don't know, but to me, it just has always kind of sounded to me like they're trying to slowly get us used to a cashless society. And I really do believe that's where we're going. As Nancy is saying here, conditioning for digital. I believe that.
Nancy
Yeah,
Pelosi makes me believe that the reptilian elite theory may possibly be true. And I'll try and behave myself here. Patrick, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I was gonna say I completely agree with that. If you have time, you look through the bills that are in front of Congress right now, and one of the bills is the Federal Reserve needs to have digital wallets by January of 2021. So I mean, whether or not it becomes law from that bill, it just goes to show where they're headed and what they're looking at, and that is a digital cashless, coinless system.
Well, no doubt they'll try, and it'll be. I guess the one thing that's good is that anything government or central banks try, they usually get completely ass backwards. So we'll count on them tripping over themselves in the process and have a good shot of that playing out. Although on a more serious note, Nancy here mentions the silver workout. There's a new YouTube channel, workout using your silver bars as weights. Andy, I'd like to comment on that 1,000-ounce silver bar. Actually, a question for you two and the audience. You can play along at home. Does anyone know how much a 1,000-ounce bar of silver weighs? How much?
About 65 pounds ish. I mean, the thing of it is that they all weigh different. You know, I've never seen a 1,000-ounce bar that's 1,000.
I'm sorry, sir, but that is not the correct answer. Patrick, would you like to take a stab at this one? How much does 1,000 ounces of silver weigh?
Weighs 1,000 ounces.
You would think so, but when you're trying to carry it from the trading office, Trump building, no less, on 40 Wall Street, where I'm told that he actually would accept gold as payment, when you're carrying it there to the PAT station and then trying to get it home, 1,000 ounces of silver weighs approximately 2 million pounds. Although my triceps were ripped that day, I mean, I could imagine with the 1,000 ouncer, perhaps if you were doing 2 arm presses, then that could be good. All right, here I'm going to throw a silver ounce out for this one. Which weighs more? An ounce of feathers or an ounce of silver? Patrick, do you want to try this one? Anyone at home?
Yeah, they weigh
No,
sir. Andy.
Well, I guess it's an ounce of silver in that
Troy
case.
ounce is 32 grams, versus the regular ounce. So in the typical ounce of silver, are they marking that to the Troy ounce, or is that the regular?
It's Troy. Everything in metal is Troy, not avoirdupois.
Yeah, Silverman had a little trick question.
Very good. Very good. That was a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah. It takes me back to. So I remember when I was in 3rd grade, a math question we had. What weighs more, 10 pounds of feathers or 10 pounds of iron? And I'm thinking, well, everybody knows iron weighs more than feathers, so it must be feathers. It's a trick question. And ever since then, I've never forgot. Just look at what the question is. If it's 10 ounces of this and 10 ounces of that, just say it's the same. So
yeah,
you got me again. I messed it up again from the 3rd grade.
You didn't realize back in 3rd grade you're going to run into some smart ass one day who spends little nuances in the metric system. But you didn't say Troy. Well, that was part of the fun of the question, Nicholas. I feel like we need to give away some silver. It's been like 20, 30 minutes already. So does anybody have any good, not mean, but good JP Morgan jokes? We got a great one this morning. Andy or Patrick, if you have a great silver deserving question that you'd like to coerce some answers out of. Nick, I already got you down for 2 Kennedy half ounces. And let's see, I see a crypto question. Andy, do you still accept, can people pay in Bitcoin for gold or silver at Miles? I know you had that last year. Is that still the case?
Yeah, it is. The only reason it is that Bitcoin is traded on the COMEX, so we can hedge our our exposure to it. So yes, the people would need to open up a BitPay wallet. Once that's done, yes, we can accept that on precious metals purchases. And by the way, we will be doing a giveaway later on after this show back at the booth. We'll be doing a couple giveaways this afternoon too.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And actually, it's interesting. I get a lot of emails from, a Silver Bullet. I'd like one of those. I got 10 ounces in my trunk right now, 2 10-ounce Silver Bullets, in case I see any central banking officials, although I would just throw them at them. I wouldn't actually shoot a central banker. I've heard, I have a research team of psychologists I just hired calculating if central bankers and politicians actually have feelings. If you prick them, do they bleed? We'll leave that aside. Patrick, why did the gold panners get kicked out of the bar? Oh, Gary Lee, you just won yourself an ounce of silver.
Why did the gold panners get kicked out of the bar? Is this a family show or
because
non-family
they don't sell
show?
alcohol to minors?
That's a good one.
Gary,
that's a good one.
In fact, I'm going to move you from the free silver ounce list because I know we're supposed to give away some copies of the book. So we're going to move you over to the trifecta prize, which is a copy of the Silver Manifesto, a big silver short, a copy of the big silver short, and an ounce of silver for Gary Lee. Gentlemen, I sure appreciate you both being here. I appreciate that you're out in public talking about this stuff. Again, you talk about it the days the prices are down, which I think is a big thing, just being accountable. I mean, it's not like the price is always going to go anybody's way, but appreciate you being here, and perhaps any closing comments from either of you before we head over to Silver Elephant booth for lunchtime, where, I don't know, more silver might fly out. Patrick, any closing thoughts?
Just always keep in mind the fundamentals of why you've bought silver, why you've bought gold, and don't be discouraged, because even though a lot of us may have bought it as an investment, it still is an insurance, and you've always got that part of it in your back pocket. So stick with it. Don't give up on it, and just always, try and be aware of what's going on with the markets and what central banks are doing.
Appreciate that. And Andrew.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like people to welcome people and invite people over to our booth. We'll be there all day answering questions, doing discussions, and hopefully some panels and what have you. So come on over. We'll be doing some giveaways. I would like to just reinforce what I believe is the most important thing, and that is we are in the eye of the hurricane. We lived through the hell that was the front edge of the storm. And if you think that the trailing edge ain't coming, I got news for you, it is. And so don't wait for a pullback. The last time we saw a pullback was in March, with silver at $11.80, and you couldn't find an ounce of silver for under 20 bucks. The pullback isn't what you want. You want it in your possession while you can still get it, because as I've said on Chris's show every week for the past couple months, this market will define itself by the inability to source product. I am loaded for bear right now with more silver than I've had all year in preparation for what I see coming. So in 100% sincerity, I think the time to act is now, before the storm comes and rips the roof off the house. And I think that's coming as we head towards the election. So Chris, thanks for providing a forum. Thanks for having us here, and hope to see you all back at the booth right now. I'm heading over there.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I appreciate you both being here, and perhaps really the only way to appropriately conclude this section is that Timothy K says, is there a Hawaiian shirt with silver bars or coins on it? Yara, if you're listening, can we get to our designer ASAP? This cannot wait till Monday. Start making that up.
A silver
we can all
lei.
wear uniforms on the cruise and chant. I see I'm starting a Kranzler chant. They want Andy, we got to get a duel with you and Kranzler, our two weekly guests. Patrick, you could be referee and moderate it since you have the great interviewing skills. So folks, thank you, Andy and Patrick. Andy will be in his booth. Patrick, I know it's quite late your time, but if you have a time over the next day or two where you would like to take some questions, let me know and we can set up that time and let people know, bring you into the Arcadia Lounge, because I'm sure people.
Okay.
Patrick, you can come into our booth too. Come into our booth
Sure.
if you'd like, and we can go back and forth. And there's been a lot
Sure.
of vibrant conversation in there. So love to see you there. I know it's late, but feel free. We'll be there all morning for you in the middle of the night if you can't sleep.
Yeah, I'll
And for any of our other
pop by.
panelists that are watching, if you would like to take questions one of the booth, please let Yara or myself know. And I know a lot of people are excited to hear from you and are logged on. So, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for talking silver. And for everybody else, in about 3 minutes, I'm going to hop over and eat my, I guess I didn't get breakfast this morning, but I eat breakfast/lunch in the Silver Elephant booth. Oh, Andy, look who just logged on. Alice Marcus is online. That is my beautiful mother. Wow, I'm so excited she is here.
Hi, Alice.
Mom, maybe you can join us for lunch in the Silver Elephant booth. Yara can help direct you there. Although for anyone who wants to know how to find it, you click that Expo button on the left and then just click into Silver Elephant. John's actually also going to talk about the diverging COMEX LBMA spot spread, which I think will be a great topic. So again, we'll be in there. And thank you, folks. And come on over to Silver Elephant booth.